Welcome. Sarah and I are doing this little video this morning to introduce a workshop that we are running in Hastings. And it's a story that we've both worked with before, quite a few times, I think, Sarah. It's the story of Vasalisa and Baba Yaga. And we just wanted to make this little video to just tell people a bit about what we're offering and the workshop, and a little bit about ourselves and what we bring to this workshop. So Sarah, would you like to introduce yourself first, and then I will introduce myself?
Sure, thanks, Anna. So, yeah, I'm Sarah Bullock and I am passionate about stories. So, I work as a therapeutic coach with people, trained as a drama therapist, and what I recognise is the power of story and how they reflect our own lives. We can take little threads of them and it will highlight something that perhaps working for us. And through movement and art and creative expression and being in a group, and we run them, Anna and I, specifically with women, because there's a beautiful unity within that. But with those threads, what we do is we can really explore what goes on for us. So I'm really excited about bringing this back again. We haven't done one obviously for a little while, and the last ones we've done have been fun and they've been beautiful and really highlighted some quite interesting aspects about our own lives. So I currently am in between houses. So I'm so a little bit about me. I'm either dancing in the woods or on the beach, and yeah, very passionate about working with women for their authentic expression in the world, and that's the work that I'm bringing. So that's me.
You didn't mention, Sarah, but you ran a really wonderful women's group in this community for quite a number of years,
Yeah.
which I know you're not here all the time now, so it's really lovely that you can come back and bring something to offer, in this time where we're coming out of lockdown and a lot of us haven't been together in workshop spaces for a while. So it's a lovely invitation to have a whole weekend of art, storytelling, movement, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it is, and it's always such a gift to work together with you, Anna, because we work really well together. There's beautiful chemistry and weaving that we managed to do. So I'm excited.
Great. So I'm Anna. I live in Hastings. I've lived here for about over 10 years now. And my background is art. I did a degree in illustration and then trained in therapeutic arts at Tobias School of Art and Therapy, which is nearby. Really, it has nature at its core and working with nature and the rhythms of nature. So I think it's lovely, Sarah, when we've worked together in the past, because you bring your drama therapy sort of movement background, which is very sort of in the physical, and mine's always in the sort of creative, bringing together creative cauldron. So it's lovely to kind of have a workshop where it works with the physical as well as the creative artwork sort of side of things. So what we're going to do is we were going to just in terms of this workshop, we're going to use the Clarissa Pinkola Oresti's Women Who Run with the Wolves book, and so we're going to read you the story in a moment. We just wanted to talk about what this workshop, if you're interested, would involve. We're working with Vasalisa and her doll, so we will be doing some doll making, and we are also going to be working with the energy of the shadow, so Baba Yaga, and how as women can we be with our goodness but also our shadow, and embracing the shadow and turning towards the shadow, turning towards life's wounds and challenges, and really look it in the eye. And we're working with the image of we've got this lovely skull here, we're working with the image of the skull and how we bring light in the dark, really. That's the main ethos of this, and we're going to be using art, movement, and just the power of story to transcend.
And just to say with Baba Yaga, there's many women who come to me, and I'm sure with you, Anna, they say, I want to find my wild woman. And thinking it's one thing, when actually, we go to seek the wisdom from the ancient one that lives in the wood, that is the shadow. and she is the crone, and she is the one that initiates the wild woman and initiates the fire of passion and creativity. So there's that beautiful synergy that has to happen. And as you said, you know, so many of us avoid that. And actually, when we embrace it and embody it and welcome it, what it ignites in us is our pure potency and the wildness with the innocence, because they go hand in hand.
Yeah, I love that, Sarah, and I really love that this strand of innocence that goes with the wildness. I think it's really powerful to work with this idea of innocence within wild shadow, and like you say, this kind of whole thing of like finding the wild woman within is not an easy journey. It's not necessarily pink and fluffy. It's quite dark and it's quite gritty, and it's often brings up kind of our swampiness or whatever, or our grittiness, but within that there is this kind of untouched snow within the soul. And yeah, I just think that's, I mean, it sounds like a sort of cheesy expression, but it's sort of we can only get to that through going through the dark woods of the soul, and the dark nights of the soul, and the dark periods that we've had in our lives, or difficulties. And we've all just come out of a really dark period with COVID and everything. So it's a good time to do this workshop, to kind of come out of the forest and look at what we've gained over this difficult time.
Absolutely, you know, and there's that, and it's a, you know, coin a very used phrase, it's like that gold, those gold aspects that you find within those dark times. And that's really so important, because there's always something that comes, always something, no matter how hard it is, there's always something that comes that is actually an illumination and a permission to do something different. And that's what moves us forward, and that beautiful grace and that is held within it.
Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to tell the story to you, so that if you don't already know the story, that, you know, you can hear the story and maybe see if this workshop calls to you. It will be running over 2 days. That's right, isn't it, Sarah? Saturday, Sunday at the end of November, in a local hall, which is a lovely place that we've used before. Yeah, so do get in touch with either of us if it calls you. But we're going to just share the story to just kind of bring you into this this realm that we want to work with. So if you're keen, then do stick around and listen to this story, and we'll of course present it again during the workshop. But it's really nice sometimes to hear a story several times, because each time a new part of it drops in.
Yeah, definitely. And just to say, if anybody did want to have more information or get in touch, then go to thewildembrace.com, and I'll drop the link below. So thewildembrace.com, all the information's on there, and you can get hold of me, and I can help you in any way I can. So shall we enter the forest, Anna?
Yes, let's enter the forest. Right, I'm just going to get it up. I'm reading it off my screen. So if I have got like my weird sort of reading face on, try to write. So Vasalisa. Once there was, and once there was not, a young mother who lay on her deathbed, her face pale as the white wax roses in the sacristy of the church nearby. Her young daughter and her husband sat at the end of her old wooden bed and prayed that God would take her safely into the next world. The dying mother called to Vasalisa, and the little child in red boots and a white apron knelt at her mother's side. "Here is a doll for you, my love," the mother whispered, and from the hairy coverlet she pulled a tiny doll which, like Vasalisa herself, was dressed in red boots, a white apron, black shirt, and a vest embroidered all over with coloured thread. Here are my last words, beloved," said the mother. "Should you lose your way or be in need of help, ask this doll what to do. You will be assisted. Keep the doll with you always. Do not tell anybody about her. Feed her when she is hungry. This is my mother's promise to you, my blessing on you, dear daughter." And with that, the mother's breath fell into the depths of her body, where it gathered up her soul and rushed out from between her lips. And the mother was dead. The child and her father mourned for a very long time. But like the field cruelly ploughed under by war, the father's life rose green from the furrows again, and he married a widow with 2 daughters. Although the new stepmother and her daughters spoke in polite tones and always smiled like ladies, there was something of the behind their smiles, which Vasilisa's father did not believe. Sure enough, when the 3 women were alone with Vasilisa, they tormented her, forced her to wait on them, sent her to chop wood so that her lovely skin would become blemished. They hated her because she had a sweetness about her that was otherworldly. She was also very beautiful. Her breasts were bounding while theirs dwindled from meanness. She was helpful and uncomplaining, while the stepmother and stepsisters were among themselves like rats in the offal pile at night. One day the stepmother and stepsisters simply could not stand Vasilisa any longer. "Let us conspire to make the fire go out, and then let us send Vasilisa into the forest to Baba Yaga, the witch, to beg fire for our hearth. And when she reaches Baba Yaga, well, old Baba Yaga will kill her and eat her." Oh, they all clapped and squeaked like things that live in the dark. So that evening, when Vasilisa came home from gathering wood, the entire house was dark. She was very concerned and inquired of her stepmother, "What has happened? What will we cook with? What will we do to light the darkness?" Her stepmother admonished, "You stupid child, obviously we have no fire, and I can't go into the woods because I am old. My daughters can't go because they are afraid. So you are the only one that can go out into the forest to find Baba Yaga and get coal to start our fire again." Vasilisa replied innocently, Well, all right. Yes, I'll do that." And so she set out. The woods became darker and darker, and sticks cracked under her feet, frightening her. She reached down into the long pocket of her apron, and there was her doll her dying mother had given her. And Vasilisa patted the doll in her pocket and said, "Just touching this doll, yes, I feel better." And at every fork in the road, Vasilisa reached into her pocket and consulted the doll. "Well, should I go left or should I go to the right?" The doll indicated yes or no, or this way or that way. And Vasilisa fed the doll some of her bread as she walked and followed what she felt was emanating from the doll. Suddenly, a man in white on a white horse galloped by, and it became daylight. Further on, a man in red sauntered by on a red horse, and the sun rose. Vasilisa walked and walked, and just as she came to the hovel of Baba Yaga, a rider dressed in black came trotting on a black horse and rode right into Baba Yaga's hut. Swiftly it became night. The fence made of skull bones surrounding the hut began to blaze with an inner tire so that the clearing in the forest glowed with an eerie light. Now, Baba Yaga was a very fearsome creature. She travelled not in a chariot, not in a coach, but in a cauldron shaped like a mortar, which flew along by itself. She rode this vehicle with an oar shaped like a pestle, and while she swept out the tracks of where she'd been with a broom made from the hair of a person long dead. And the cauldron flew through the sky with Baba Yaga's own greasy hair flying behind. Her long chin curved up and her long nose curved down, and they met in the middle. She had a tiny white goatee and warts on her skin from her trade in toads. Her brown stained fingernails were thick and rigid like roofs, and so curled over that she could not make a fist. Even more strange was Baba Yaga's house. It sat atop a huge, scaly, yellow chicken legs and walked about by itself, and sometimes swirled and rolled around like an ecstatic dancer. The bolts on the doors and shutters were made of human fingers and toes, and the front door was a snout with many pointed teeth. Vasilisa consulted her doll and asked, Is this the house we seek? And the doll, in its own way, answered, yes, this is what you seek. And before she could take another step, Baba Yaga, in her cauldron, descended on Vasalisa and shouted down at her, what do you want? And the girl trembled. Grandmother, I come for fire. My house is cold, and my people will die. I need a fire.
Baba Yaga snapped. Oh, yes, I know you and your people. Well, you useless child, you let the fire go out. That's an ill-advised thing to do. And besides, what makes you think I should give you the flame? Vasilisa consulted her doll and quickly replied, because I ask. Baba Yaga purred. You're very lucky. That is the right answer. And Vasilisa felt very lucky she'd given the right answer. Baba Yaga threatened, I cannot possibly give you fire until you've done work for me. If you perform these tasks for me, you shall have fire. If not... And here Vasilisa saw Baba Yaga's eyes turn red suddenly to cinders. If not, my child, you shall die. So Baba Yaga rumbled into the hovel and lay down upon her bed and ordered Vasilisa to bring her what was cooking in the oven. In the oven was enough food for 10 people, and the Yaga ate it all, leaving just a thin crust and a tiny thimble of soup for Vasilisa. Wash my clothes, sweep the yard and clean my house, prepare my food and separate the mildew corn from the good corn and see that everything is in good order. I will be back to inspect your work later. If it is not done, you will be my feast. And with that, Baba Yaga flew off in a cauldron with her nose as the windsock and her hair as the sail, and it became night again. Vasilisa turned to her doll as soon as the Yaga had gone. What shall we do? Can I complete all these tasks in time? The doll assured her she could, and just eat a little and go to sleep. Vasilisa fed the doll a little too, then she slept. In the morning, the doll had done all the work, and all that remained was the meal to be cooked. In the evening, the Yaga returned and found nothing undone. Pleased in a way, but not pleased, because she could find no fault. Baba Yaga sneered. You are a very lucky girl. And then she called on her faithful servants to grind the corn, and 3 pairs of hands appeared in mid-air and began to rasp and crush the corn. The chaff flew around the house like golden snow. Finally it was done, and the Baba Yaga sat down to eat. She ate for hours and ordered Vasilisa on the morrow to again clean the house, sweep the yard and launder her clothes. The Yaga pointed to a great mound of dirt in the yard. In that pile of dirt are many poppy seeds. Millions of them, millions of poppy seeds. And I want in the morning to have 1 pile of poppy seeds and 1 pile of dirt, all separated out from each other. Do you understand? Vasilisa nearly fainted. Oh my, how am I going to do that? She reached into her pocket and the doll whispered, Don't worry, I will take care of it. That night, Baba Yaga snored off to sleep, and Vasilisa tried to pick the poppy seeds out of the dirt. After a time, the doll said to her, Sleep now, all will be well. Again, the doll accomplished these tasks, and when the old woman returned home, all was done. Baba Yaga spoke sarcastically through her nose. Well, lucky for you that you were able to do these things. She called again for her faithful servants to press the oil from the poppy seeds, and again 3 pairs of hands appeared and did so. While the Yaga was smearing her lips with grease from her stew, Vasilisa stood nearby. What are you staring at? Barked Baba Yaga. May I ask you some questions, grandmother? Asked Vasilisa. Ask, ordered the Yaga. But remember, too much knowledge can make a person old too soon. Vasilisa asked about the white man on the white horse. Ah, said the Yaga fondly, that first is my day. And the red man on the red horse. Ah, that is my rising sun. And the black man on the black horse. Ah, yes, that is the third, and he is my night. I see, said Vasilisa. Come, child, wouldn't you like to ask some more questions? Wheedled the Yaga. Vasilisa was about to ask about the pairs of hands that appeared and disappeared, but the doll began jumping up and down in her pocket. So instead, Vasilisa said, No, grandmother, as you yourself say, to know too much can make one old too soon. Ah, said the Yaga, cocking her head on the side like a bird. You are wiser than your years, my girl. How did you come to be this way? By the blessing of my mother, said Vasilisa. Blessing? Screeched Baba Yaga. Blessing? We need no blessings around this house. You'd best be on your way, daughter. She pushed Vasilisa out into the night. I'll tell you what, child. Here! Baba Yaga took a fiery skull with fiery eyes from her fence and put it on a stick. Here, take this skull on a stick home with you. There's your fire. Don't say another word. Just be on your way. Vasilisa began to say thank you to the Yaga, but the little doll began to jump up and down, and Vasilisa realised she must just take the fire and go. She ran home through the dark forest, following the twists and the turns of the road as the doll told her which way to go. Vasilisa came through the forest carrying the skull, with fire blazing from its eyes, nose and mouth holes. Suddenly she became frightened of its weight and the eerie light and thought to throw it away. But the skull spoke to her and urged her to calm herself and continue towards the home of the stepmother and stepsisters, and this she did. As Vasilisa came nearer and nearer to the house, the stepmother and stepsisters looked out of the window and saw a strange glow dancing through the woods. Closer and closer it came. They could not imagine what it could be. They'd decided that Vasilisa, long absent, meant that she was dead by now, and her bones dragged away by the animals, and good riddance. Vasilisa advanced closer and closer to home, and as the stepmother and stepsisters saw it was her, they ran to her, saying they had been without fire since she'd left, and no matter how hard they'd tried to start one, it always went out. Vasilisa entered the house feeling triumphant, for she had survived her dangerous journey and brought fire back to her home. But the skull on the stick watched the stepsisters and the stepmother's every move and burnt into them. And by morning, it had burnt the wicked trio to cinders.
So lovely to hear that story again. I feel like I've heard it so many times, but it's always different every time to hear a story.
Yeah. It is, isn't it? And there's it's like which part of the story is alive for you in that moment and that time of hearing it, because for me it always changes, and it changes for us all, doesn't it? So it's always something different.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's any other things to say, Sarah, just that we really hope that some of you will join us for the weekend in working with this story creatively and through movement. And anything else to add, Sarah?
Just to say that if there's therapists out there, then it is also, we can give CPD hours for therapists, but it's not just for therapists, it's for any woman that feels that they want to work with the story, or they want to have a bit of connection with other women working in a creative way. So it's an invitation to just come and play a little bit.
And be in connection with others again in a creative space.
Definitely. And if there's anything, then get in touch through thewildembrace.com, and you can get to speak to Anna and I.
Thank you very much. And
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you, Anna.
Bye.